Not, I really am not. Though, for real. Even though I did cuss Kevin and his sweater out. Listen, based on just where we are as a collective in this world, we are going to have to be okay with criticizing public figures. I mean, it doesn't, I just don't understand how we, like, I don't understand that. I don't understand with everything that we're seeing, whether it is be it the Epstein things, the stuff we seen with R. Kelly, the shit we see with Diddy, how we don't understand. Okay, let me see if I'm gonna slow down so that I can make sure that I measure my words. Let me slow down. I'm gonna start actually with the thing that annoys me the most. People deserve to actually have their worship. You know, some people, they may, I wouldn't say we necessarily as humans need religion, but for some people it's okay for them to adhere to a system of belief if for them, not to persecute others, but for them it helps them align with themselves, the inner, the most inner part of themselves, or with a higher spirit, with God, Goddess, universe, whatever that may be, that is a necessity for them to navigate this world. If for them that is their way to connect, I'm for it, so long as it does not, from what we understand in history, put other people in harm's way, exploit other people. Okay, so that's a moot point. I really didn't have to waste time talking about that. I'm trying to ready what I want to say, and I'm trying to find the words to say it. Okay, but I spoke about whatever the thing that I'm trying to speak on. I'm sorry. I spoke about this years ago, where you have people who are faith leaders, and yeah, people are human and they make mistakes, but you have people who position themselves as Christians, or position themselves as someone who is an observer of Christ, right? Or an observer of Muhammad, or an observer of the Shekinah, or God, or Abraham's principles, or Moses, or whatever the fuck, okay? Not to use God's name in vain, but literally whatever it is that a person adheres to. And you do so and you monopolize it. Because I'm going to start there before I go anywhere else. You have your spiritual beliefs and you monopolize it, right? It's it should be said that if you become a figure, especially a culturally significant figure, as it relates to a belief system, that you are held to a certain standard. Plain and fucking simple. And why that's important is actually more than trying to find human error, which is going to forever be present so long as we are in the human body. We are not these, we do have our connection. We are fractals of God. But we can't necessarily say that we are Christ. So we're humans, we're flawed, right? However, whenever you take up the mantle of a certain concept or construct, You become a bridge between the secular and what is considered sacred. There is a certain expectation. And the issue, the same thing that happens with a lot of us and what's happening now, as the world is pretty much resetting. However, I'm seeing it more often on black faces and black bodies, where we have people who ascribe to certain belief systems. They have made money, they've even collected fame in proximity, in gathering the audiences of those adjacent belief systems, yet play with our, like, the vulnerability of humanity in terms of you being a symbol. It's not a cool thing to see someone who is a brother or sister that we look up to in any capacity position themselves as a Christian and be a sellout at the same motherfucking time. I mean, it's another thing. Look at, I mean, respectfully, the black church and black people's obsession with the way in which we spiritualize the Most High God and Christ energy. It's almost like we don't get tired of being the bastion of Satan. It's like black people don't get tired of signing themselves up to be a bastion of a system that doesn't even originate in the way that it is structured with their DNA, which is why it's so hard for you to adhere to it. Brother, I wonder what goes through the mind of people who claim to be church, like churchy or whatever. I wonder what goes through them. Like, how do they, I wonder, like, how do you make concessions for what you stand up for and what you clearly ignore as it relates to communities that you come from and that you have created a platform off of, you have harvested from in so many ways? What have you seen in your life to where whatever you used to believe, you don't believe anymore? Whatever you participated in, where you know you're selling something to the community that doesn't exist the way in which it was prescribed to you, meaning religion. I don't know. It's just like I don't know if we, like, if black people, if we have arrested development in terms of understanding the magnitude of sheer buying powder. But wait a minute, buying powder, bitch. Who over there on that powder that I picked up on? Of sheer buying power. Like, I wonder, do we have a, like, a learning curve, or if the rumors that people say are true about Black Americans, if we actually do have a very limited IQ, if our aptitudes are, we don't have as a collective body, we are not able to get to places of ingenuity as easily as our forebears. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if there's something wrong with us. And then I take that and I kind of look at Black people across the globe, and I sometimes look at it and say, what the fuck is wrong with us? Out of pure love, because I don't understand how we're not able to quantify the buying power of the Black dollar, and we're not able to look back at Black wealth, and we're not upset that the wealthiest of us are entertainers. What I'm also perplexed with is why no one is upset with the Democratic Party as it relates to how Miss Jasmine Crockett was handled. That's why I'm wondering if Black celebrities take advantage of that learning curve that may or may have not been enhanced by food, certain types of telephone lines and poles and frequencies that are inundated into Black communities. The school to prison pipeline. I wonder if Black celebrities take advantage of that learning curve. Because every single one of the Black women who claim to be 92% should have felt insulted when Jasmine Crockett was brutally embarrassed in Texas. And to add insult to injury, she didn't even have the support of Obama. That's crazy, right? But she mixy and shit with the celebrities. And she didn't even have the support of the Obamas. That's crazy. That's crazy considering the ways in which Jasmine Crockett has received death threats and how in which she has been thrown from side to side on behalf of her own community. The lack of support and the blindsiding that she received. The sound, I'm sure the sound was resounding as educated as that woman is, as much as she's been able to accomplish, she didn't even have the support of the first so-called office of the first black president of the United States of America. That's crazy. But going back to, especially coming out of Texas, Houston, Texas, right? Or is she from another part of Texas? I'm not sure. That's crazy. So what do you think happens with a group of people who they thought you were their brother or sister in Christ, right? And you turn out to be nothing more than a Hollywood ass kisser who isn't concerned with the condition of the people in which you put together entertainment programs for, curated to gain their buy-in, to keep you relatively wealthy. And there's no benefit to those people. Then you're found out to associate with a person or people who make a laughing stock out of the very thing that you claim, your claim to fame. I would like to know Kev on Stage's thoughts about, the song Lucifer. I think it's a dope ass song, quite frankly, but I would like to know what his opinions are. He spoke on 444, which is a pagan concept and construct. Even as an angel number is pagan. Definitely doesn't have a churchy origin whatsoever. I wonder what he thinks about that. Hmm. But anyhow, I just wonder if we oftentimes as people we actually don't make the right people famous. And I wonder that that learning curve that we have, how much money does that generate? Like if we could quantify the buying power of black people, right? Our influence is, especially as it relates to being sport, and our influence in sports and in entertainment. If we can quantify how much our ignorance earns people, would it be upwards a couple $100 billion? Do you think? Do you think that it would be enough to fund a reparations effort? If, like, just think about it hypothetically, if you could quantify the learning curve, especially of black women, the identity issues with black women, the people that are assigned to influence black women, oftentimes not looking like or having the same experiences as black women. If you could quantify the arrested development and how much of a moneymaker that learning curve creates for us. Not for us, because we're not, it's not, the money's not coming back to us, clearly, right? It's not even coming back to us from our sons. I mean, we can't say anything to speak to the many nations of Africa where their own sons were used in military to give access to European nations to plunder their resources. We are a resource, and we actively give our earnings, our lifetimes, our wealth and riches to other people. And then right before death, we lose the shine. I mean, they're working on Michael Jordan right now. They call him a pedophile, allegedly. I seen in a comment section somewhere where someone said the only thing that nigga gonna have is some sneakers. That's crazy, right? What a legacy to being in your 60s, almost 70s. And the youngest of the generations are saying the only thing that nigga gonna have, I think after this basketball game, especially, is gonna have the only thing that grapist is gonna have is a silhouette to his name. That learning curve for us, how much do you think that cost us? And I'm saying this, and I'm trying to form the words, and I'm trying my best. But when people like myself get silenced, or we have our views throttled, or we have people who jump up and play court gesture because they're uncomfortable that the people who sign off on their projects might get irritated with them, they jump up to bootlick somebody who should be your brother, not your superior, not especially a rapper, right? He owes you that open door at this point. He should never, the Carter should never fucking have a monopoly over a motherfucking thing in this country. And the fact that you don't understand that, and furthermore, you don't give a fuck about your people enough to hold them the fuck accountable. Not make fun of them. Not let them get fucked up and beat up and disenfranchised, but hold your people accountable because you recognize that the pride in our culture and in our society is slipping away from us. And that if another group of people who have been put into the position of a celebrity are utterly embarrassed and considered to be deviants in society, who the black community has held in high regard, it is an embarrassment to us all. And instead of holding your brother accountable, you running around scratching the dirt like a yard bird for worms by kissing his ass. I'm sorry, I didn't know that Beyonce and Jay-Z and the Carters, their bloodline were the total, like they did all the slave work. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were the only deserving family of opportunities. I didn't know that I was in a line and I had to wait for them to bless me to get what is due to me. I didn't know. I honestly didn't know that you know the Knowles family did the most of the, you know, they were the majority of the slaves. I did not know that they were the king and queens of the slaves. I didn't know. How much is that costing us, by the way? If I could, I just don't leave you with anything else. How much is your allegiance to an entertainer costing you? How much of it is costing you a loss of faith in your own walk? You say that you're not affected. That's bullshit. Humanity needs other humans. We learn from other humans. How is the lack of positive reinforcement of your image costing you in your self esteem? Why are you embarrassed if someone says that you remind them of a caricature that's ghetto? What does that mean as far as your capability to earn? Why is it that you even have to code switch in the first place? And you mean to tell me that we're not able to hold? It's like it's almost automatic. Like it was nothing for y'all to drag the fuck out of Nikki for going Republican. But today, I sit here and I'm wondering, why the fuck is Jasmine Crockett Democratic? Why is she a Democrat? It's crazy to me. I think someone said that Kamala did a little robocall recording for her. Hmm. Hmm. As if, you know. I guess that's better than nothing. I wonder if you show an employer how many times you went to the Beyonce concert experience, if that's going to put you at the top of the hiring pool. If you'll get a raise based on your buy-in. Hmm. I mean, no shade, no tea. I'm just saying. I can tell you one thing, based on who the employers are, name dropping Nikki might not hurt you. I mean, I'm just saying the people who actually have equity in America, Nikki's association probably might not hurt you with those people. Just saying. Hmm. And I'm really being just right now because I don't think anyone should use anything like that. But I mean, if it works, it works. You know, do what you will with that. Um, but I'm just trying to figure out: do I want a representative of faith to be a money grubbing little troll that needs to shepherd other black voices into allegiance because he gets his projects greenlit by certain groups of people? And I'm dead motherfucking serious because, quite frankly, why the fuck did I? Never mind. I'm not going to go there. I really, you know, I don't know why I don't see Beyonce and Jay-Z in places where we should see them. In spaces that would, they, given the way that the community has upheld them. I don't know why we don't see them. I see Kim Kardashian as doing more. I mean, maybe she feels like she owes her celebrity to black men. So, I get it. And I respect it. Even though I think that there's some weird shit going on with. Anyway, I'm not going to go there right now because I really don't have the facts on it. I got a homegirl who has the facts on it. I don't have the facts on it. Okay, I don't want to. If I'm going to speak about something, I would like to speak truth to power. But I just find it really, 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 really interesting that given the way in which people bend their morality to allow themselves to grovel, that this family isn't really anywhere where they can do the greatest bit of good. Do we really have our best interest at heart? Like, I sometimes ask that because I'm just like, maybe something does need to happen in which black people are disenfranchised so you can wake up. And you could see that you went into debt to go to a concert twice. And our sister didn't even speak out so much as for you to have access to a voting booth during Black History Month. But I'm sure you got every single one of her hair products, right? And then why are we not in STEM? Like, why don't we have millionaires who are STEM that are creating businesses in STEM? It's crazy. We are some of the most inventive group of black melanated people on the globe. And it's almost like 1950 came and black people stopped inventing a motherfucking thing, stopped banking, stopped doing anything noteworthy other than entertainment. Like the soul of excellence just left the community. And it was sealed, and the casket was sealed upon the death of Fred Hampton, and prior to that, Dr. Martin Luther King, and prior to that, Malcolm X. It's almost as if we're the walking dead. Not quite dead, but definitely not quite alive. I wasn't finna get up here and disrespect my sister and my brother. We got enough people doing that for themselves. They disrespect themselves in allegiance to our brothers and our sisters. Kevin, Kev on stage should not be the only success story. Whatever it is that he earns, that should be a common occurring event in Black America. In 2026, 20 years after I think that Chris Rock did a special in which he spoke about being, Chris Rock and living in this neighborhood and having the accoutrement that he has for his life. And his next door neighbor was a dentist. I don't know if you guys remember that special in which he talked about that, where he said that his next door neighbor, everything that he accomplished as a black man, one who went on to disparage black women and really fuck us up as a collective with good hair. No one has actually returned the favor that Chris Rock should have gotten outside of Will Smith. And there's some questionable shit with Will Smith too. Because good hair was an embarrassment towards black women by our own. Absolutely embarrassing. Needless to say, I mean, we still have to argue the notion now, despite the natural hair care movement that's been going long and strong for over 10 years, black women are still called bald-headed chicken heads. Some shit that started in good hair and it has not been rectified since then. And you wonder why black women don't trust black men with their effigy. Eventually, we won't trust black celebrities because we don't hold each other accountable. We kiss ass and we look for a handout. But yeah, back to Chris Rock. Chris Rock stated all that he was, right? His next door neighbor was just a dentist who happened to make great investments and have a successful ring or successful brand of dentistry offices. He was a private citizen and didn't have to go through nearly the shit that Chris Rock has to go through. The public scrutiny or anything. And lo and behold, his house was slightly better than Chris Rock's house. Can you imagine? That's like someone like I Speed, right? With all of the fame and favor. Like, he is doing the Michael Jackson thing. Like, my brother could not just up and go somewhere, if he's live at least, and people won't recognize him, right? Eventually, he's already so big that he would have to wear a disguise to go somewhere and it not flood out, right? For him to look up and his neighbor is just a dentist, just a plastic surgeon. Considering where he comes from and the huge gap in opportunities that someone who comes from where he comes from have, right? They're just a dentist. Let's wrap our heads around that shit. Could you imagine Michael Jordan, who he was before the younger generation, and Michael Jordan has been accused of being allegedly a child molester. Could you imagine Michael Jordan at the country club and someone walks up that he should be impressed with, that actually has more money and more equity than he does, and they gathered their wealth from urinal cakes? You guys know what urinal cakes are? Urinal cakes are these like an apparatus or a chemical compound that's placed in men's restrooms so that when they go to pee, the urine doesn't clog up or crystallize around, because it's not a toilet where they're emptying it into a basin of water. It's urine straight into the drain. And urinal cakes essentially keep this area from crystallizing shut from urine. Okay? So on and so forth. Okay? And there's someone who's more important to people who have the same kind of Jordan money, if not more, whose family is responsible for creating urinal cakes, something in which they are serving mankind via waste management. Not a celebrity. And they're 3 to 4 to 5 to 10 times wealthier than Jordan. and he's acquiescing to that man. And what's crazy about that is that from the time of the turn of the century to roughly what the 1970s, black women were housemaids. We don't know what it's like to be a housewife. A lot of us were nurses, or we took professional jobs, or we were maids. Yeah. Esmeralda hasn't always been the maid. It went from the black women to Hispanic women. Now they have cleaning companies that are worth a couple of $1 million. Why we don't have that, I guess that's that old learning curve that we have, as black people, right? Considering all that we've done in this world and all that we've contributed, you must understand why we're not respected. Because given that for 70 years we were cleaning house, no, fuck 70 years. That's when for 70 years we were paid minimum wage to clean houses. Prior to that, we were just cleaning asses, suckling children that did not come out of our wombs and cleaning houses. It's a wonder why we are, black people are not in sanitation. And we're not billionaires behind urinal cakes. And we barely touch $1 billion as a rapper. That's crazy. Like, think about how crazy that is. Like, think about the fact that Kim Kardashian and them were billionaires before Jay-Z or Beyonce. And they're Armenian. Okay? The people who pretty much built the country and fought for rights that gave access to this country for immigrants are the most disrespected people, even unto one another, in 2026. And despite all of that money, there's someone who stays in a house that probably looks better than your compound, who's a dentist. So I hope that what I'm trying to illustrate before I get up off of here is that if you're not frustrated, if you're not upset, if you've got tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt and someone's asking for you as a black American to pay their student loan debt, a loan, if you will, okay, you out of all people, and the fact that there's a dentist somewhere outdoing the people who we bend over backwards to get into their concerts. There's a urinal cake manufacturer outdoing the greatest basketball players that we can put out there. As a matter of fact, there are intellects that had to come into this country. I mean, the CEO of Red Lobster, they couldn't even go through the pool of black executives to hire a CEO for Red Lobster. They had to get a brilliant man, I believe he's of Nigerian descent, to turn Red Lobster and Darden restaurants around. They couldn't find a single black American, a legacy, to do that. It's crazy. And you mean to tell me that I don't have the right to question a thing or two? Not only that, I have the birthright to this country. Whether that be through the labor of my ancestors or through who showed up on the continent first. So yeah, you damn right I'm gonna cuss Kevin out and that motherfucking sweater for being sway back ass nigga and not respecting the dignity of another person of color whose concerns are valid and righteous, and instead taking it upon himself to, I guess, be a beacon of what we should do and how we should regard one another who are not loyal to the concerns of one another. Fuck you. And that goddamn album. And I'm going to say that to you more than I'm going to say it to the people whose ass you're kissing. Because at least they have enough dignity not to do it publicly when they kiss ass. At least they have the dignity to cast a spell so that y'all like them and take a yard of their shit so they can rob your ass blind with a smile on their face than to be sloppy and let us see them grovel to the Trumps. But y'all got on Nicki Minaj's head top. My sister went over there and spoke to the UN. She did it publicly. She didn't have to do that greasy ass shit as doing it behind the scenes. Because she wasn't the one backing and financially supporting a fake ass Kendrick Lamar talking about some, they not like us. Nah, nigga, you not like us. And the people that you work for are not like us. And that was a dog whistle, is what it was. Eventually, y'all will not take anything seriously when they talk about pedophiles. You're not gonna take any of that shit seriously. We are compliant and complacent right now. Eventually, if we keep going and if we keep letting people play in our face, especially the administration, as it relates to what they're gonna do, and if we don't hold people accountable for the state of Black Americans and what was done unto us, I don't give a fuck if you're white, Hispanic, Indian. If you're not an elite, you're fucked. And that's just the truth of the matter. So if you feel uncomfortable holding those who are to serve you accountable, then at least keep a jar of Vaseline when they ask you to bend over. That's what I'm going to say. You have to be able to hold people accountable and question their allegiance and question, why the fuck am I keeping you rich when you've not done a damn thing for our community to enrich us? Not even a funky ass urinal cake, right? What we need, the solution, we need more Black children to become invested in more spheres than entertainment, more spheres than politics. We need Black innovators, scientists, people who are serious and who actually do not expect to have necessarily any advantage, to be able to take pride in the fact that they are 10 times better than the top of the graduating class of Yale who's Asian. Especially considering what our ancestors went through, you should be better than 10 Asian kids as it relates to science, mathematics, economics, and technology. You should be AI itself based on what your people have endured. People should feel like coming up against you is like coming up against a machine that will not stop. As if you are Terminator itself. And it's funny because the Terminator and the Matrix were written by a black woman. Now put that in your motherfucking pipe and smoke it and consider the type of creativity it took to write the Terminator and the Matrix. And I think you'll be pressed to understand why the fuck isn't she richer than Beyonce and Jay-Z. Okay? Y'all have a good night. Peace.